I have had so much fun prepping for this DIY tutorial. Let's dive in. If you enjoy DIYs and like making your own gifts for people, today's tutorial is for you. Today I'm going to show you how to upcycle old candles and teacups and other vessels to create custom, gorgeous scented candles. These are perfect for gift giving, and I found 99% of these things while thrifting for under $2. These DIY candles make the perfect, thoughtful gift. Whether you need a hostess gift or a Mother's Day present, or you're even getting ready for Christmas. These are a fun and affordable way to show that you care. And the best part is that you can take your time and find the perfect thrifted vessel for each person. My name's Larissa, and welcome to the Concussion Crew, where we share tips and tricks for making life a little easier. If you've been here before, you know that I have a brain injury. So this DIY needs to be really simple, really safe, and a lot of fun. I tested a few different ways of melting the wax. I tested different ways of coloring the wax, and I've even got some suggestions on scenting the wax. Let's dive in. Here's what I thrifted. I am going to make this little penguin into a candle. I've got this old mug that is getting upcycled. And just in time for my sister's birthday, I found this really cute daisy bowl. I think this one was a quarter, and I'm going to make this into a candle for her. I've got some really cute, elegant teacups. I've got beautiful vintage stemware. These are going to feel truly special and unique to the person that I'm giving them to. A mix of partially burned candles. I got this guy. This is so much wax. It was $9. It was burned, which is fine for our purposes. It was $9 and I had a 30% off coupon. So I got this big chunk of wax for $6. I found a bunch of tea lights in my closet that I don't use. I don't have tea light holders anymore, so I'm gonna melt some of them down. And then I got some bags of candles at the thrift store, and I'm just gonna melt this stuff down. I also picked up a mini crock pot for $4. I picked up a pot that has these two pouring spouts, which I thought was gonna work well, but spoiler alert, involving the stove was not my best choice, which is fine. You try something new, you learn along the way. The tutorials that I watched suggested breaking up the wax, and I didn't do that. For this big chunk, I got a really cheap $2 pan that I'm going to use to melt this wax in, and I know that the pan is not going to be usable afterwards, and that's okay because I spent $2 and it was going in the trash anyway. I prefer using the mini crock pot. I put the candles in whole and just let it melt down, and then I use a ladle to ladle the hot wax into the container. This worked well for me for a few reasons. One, if you have the heat on too high on the stove, if you forget, if you have a clumsy moment, the stove is going to be a fire hazard. It is more dangerous. So sure, it was okay pouring from these spouts, but it got a little drippy. It was not as good an option for me as using the little crock pot. The crock pot melts down the wax, and then you can ladle it safely. Also, don't use your cooking pots. The wax does not come off properly, and you will destroy your cooking pots. Once you've got your wax, you've chosen your vessels, you've melted your wax, now it's time to decide if you want to add some color and add some scent. If you want to add a pop of color, I highly recommend using wax melts. These wax melts are a way of coloring your candles without having to mess around with the liquid dyes. I found the liquid dyes got drippy and they stained my counter, so do not recommend. Another factor is that I am clumsy. I knock things over, so having bottles of liquid dye is just an accident waiting to happen. You can add a little bit of wax for a less concentrated color, and then you can deepen the color if that's the look or the vibe that you're going for. I picked these up inexpensively on Amazon. I've got some already blue wax. This guy is pink wax. And white wax looks beautiful in these mugs, so you don't have to color it. It's just an added bonus. And I also used my essential oils. I've got my autumn ones that I used in my crafts last year, and I picked up this new set of floral because right now when I'm recording this video, it is springtime and I wanted some lighter rose scent, jasmine and gardenia, some floral scents for gift giving at this time of year. This step is completely optional. I purchased a 100 pack of wicks on Amazon for 10 bucks. I spent maximum $2 per container, and I already had one of the sets of the scents. It doesn't take a lot of investment to make these guys. It's really easy to prep. You take one of the stickers and place it in the bottom of the bowl. You peel off the other side of the sticker and you stick down one of your wicks. The thing I like about this set of wicks is that they came pre-attached to the little metal thing that goes on the bottom of them. Some of the packages you had to futz around and put the wick into the little metal thing, and that's more fuss than I wanted to do. There are two different kind of wick holders so that the wick doesn't fall over. There are these guys and metal ones. You get these popsicle sticks with a hole in the center, and you put the wick through the hole to keep the wick standing up once you pour the wax in, because it's going to want to tip over. You can use the popsicle stick to push the little metal part down into the sticker. So if your hands don't fit in there, because it can get kind of tight. Remember that you will need to wipe out the crock pot when you change colors. So if you decide I'm making this daisy candle for my sister using yellow, I know that I want to make a pink candle in there, and I know that I'd like to make blue in there. A number of these teacups have beautiful pink on them. I'm going to group together the pinks and the yellows and the whites, and I'm going to do them in batches so that I don't have to keep cleaning out my crock pot. I think that for the most part, these guys are all fairly small, so they will only take one wick. Do remember that if you get something wider, maybe something more like this vessel, I will put 2 wicks in here so that the wax melts evenly. Right? If you only have it in the middle, the edges aren't going to melt properly and the candle's going to get lopsided and somebody's going to drop it off at the Salvation Army. Not what we want. So here's my question for you. While DIYing, while crafting, while cooking, what do you listen to? Because I am re-listening to Help I Sexted My Boss. It is funny. It is irreverent. It's fairly dirty, so you can't listen to this with parents or kids around. I mean, you could, but your kids are going to need so much therapy. Essential oils can burn fairly easily, so be very careful. What I do is pour the wax into the vessels, and then I add a few drops of essential oil and give it a quick spin or a stir with a toothpick or with a popsicle stick. So when I was testing out this, I tried a few things and I learned a few things. I learned that using wooden wicks, they look cool and classy. I liked the look of them, but they did not burn well and they tended to smoke. I found that wax can tend to make a little dip. It can kind of sink in the center, which is fine. You just need to know that you will need to go back and top it up a little bit. I used my resin art supplies. I tried using some glitter and some yellow dye. It was horrible. It's just not meant for this kind of heat, and there's smoke that comes off the top of it. It's horrible. So make sure that you are using actual candle dye and that you are very careful with your essential oils so that you don't smoke up the place. Make sure that you open a window, get a little breeze through. Something else I learned the hard way, you need to put the lid on the crock pot or it takes forever to melt. Yeah, that should have been self-evident. There were a ton of the little crock pots at the thrift store, so I do not feel bad about using this for crafting and not for food. Repurposing. This was one of my testers. It's kind of cute. I dripped a little bit of wax around the edge and I can just clean it up using one of the wick holders. In the crock pot, you can see that there are the strings or the wicks from the old ones and some of the little metal thingies. That's fine. Now that the wax is melty, I am going to start to carefully pour it into some of these vessels. And I'm going to dump it on the counter too, apparently. Okay, here we go. And a few bibbidi-bobbidi boos of cinnamon. Oh my goodness, it smells so good in here. Well, that's a bummer. If the wick comes out of the little silver thing, I'm dumping the hot wax right out of there. I'll dump it into the next vessel quickly. Oh, that was a really clean pour. So the wick needs to stay attached to that silver thing. So if it comes apart, sorry dude, you're just gonna have to redo that one. Okay, I am moving on. Oh man, decisions. Do I do bright pink or do I do pink? Or do I mix the two? So many options. I think I'm gonna do pink. Make sure that you remember to trim your wicks. And you can see that this guy has sunk in a little bit. And that's okay, I'm just gonna top them up. And you can have some fun with that. Top it up with a different color so that you've got a little bit of a fun mixture going on there. And there you have it, beautiful custom candles that are inexpensive and a lot of fun. Keep your eyes open when you're at the thrift store, when you're out garage sailing, or at home. Do you have some old candles that you could repurpose? Let us know in the comments below, what is the most creative container that you would use? Thank you so much for sticking with me. I hope this video was helpful. I hope that you will like and subscribe, and I hope that you will remember that you are not alone trying to make life a little more beautiful, one DIY project at a time. I put the candles in whole and just let it melt down, and then I use a little, what's it called? Dipper? What's a dipper called? Spatula? Dipper? Knife? No. Ladle. I use a ladle to ladle the hot wax into the container.